The American Dream. What is it? The American Dream can be described and be defined in a short and simple way. The American Dream is a belief that anyone, regardless of where they were born or what class they were born into, can attain success and can climb up the social ladder through hard work and taking risks rather than by chance. The American Dream has deep roots and can be found in the Declaration of Independence, where it is stated that all men are created equal and that God has created every human with unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Many political figures have talked about the American Dream as a part of their political agenda, such as Donald Trump, Barack Obama, and many others. Although what we would like to focus on here in our documentary is the different understandings of the American Dream. We would like to answer some questions as well that are great to ask since they give a much better overview of this theme. The questions we have asked are: who is Robert J. Shiller and Steve Toback? What are their individual understandings of the American Dream? What are the main differences between these two understandings? And what is the correct way of understanding the American Dream, and is there even one? Now that we've asked these questions, we shall now begin.
So, who is Robert J. Shiller? Robert J. Shiller is an American economist. He's a Sterling Professor of Economics at Yale University. He has won the Nobel Prize in collaboration with two other economists for research on the variability of assets prices and the underlying rationality of financial markets. He has written numerous books about economy and finance. Shiller has been a research associate of the National Bureau of Economic Research since 1980. He was vice president of the American Economic Association in 2005. And he was president of the Eastern Economic Association from 2006 through 2007. And then, who is Steve Toback? Steve Toback is a strategy consultant who is a co-founder and managing partner for Advisor Consulting LLC. This is a company that helps and advises CEOs and their leadership teams on all things concerning strategy. This is what he does today, but before that he was a high-tech senior executive who led global marketing and sales organization for numerous public companies and successful startups. Furthermore, he's a blogger who writes every week and writes about his opinions on things happening in the world. Now that we have gotten some background on who these two people are, we'll dive into their opinions of the American Dream. We'll start with Robert Shiller.
Robert Shiller has written an article for the New York Times where he writes about the transformation of the American Dream. In this article, he starts by stating the things that Donald Trump has said in a speech in January 2017. Shiller explains that the meaning of the American Dream has changed radically through the years. He starts by mentioning James Trussell of Adams' book called The Epic of America. It states that the American Dream doesn't consist of having many cars or being very wealthy, but explains that it is, and I quote, a dream of social order in which each man and woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable and recognized by others for what they are. This is the original understanding of the American Dream. This understanding lasted all the way up from the 1930s to the 1960s. It was occasionally used in advertisements for intellectual products such as plays and books. It was especially in the 1960s when Martin Luther King performed his famous I Have a Dream speech used extensively. Martin Luther King spoke of his dream of the disappearance of prejudice and a rising community spirit, but suddenly Shiller explains that in the 1970s and 80s, many home builders used the American Dream in their advertisements. That Shiller suggests perhaps is to make consumption seem patriotic. Robert Shiller in general means that the American Dream's connections to equality and community have weakened while its association with the home ownership has taken over. This with unfortunate results such as the financing crisis in 2008 through 2009. Robert means that associating the American Dream with economy and wealth is is the wrong way to go. Instead, the original understanding of the fair society should come back.
Now that we have talked about Robert Shiller's understanding of the American dream, we shall move on and talk about Steve Toback's understanding of the American dream. Steve Toback wrote an article on Fox Business where he stated that the American dream is alive and well. Toback starts out by stating that a survey had found that about half of the 18 to 29-year-olds believe that the American dream is dead. But this, Toback claims, is not true. He uses the same examples from James Troslow's book as Shiller did, and uses these examples to try to explain why so many people misunderstand the American dream. While referring to Troslow's statement that every person should be able to attain the best they can with all of their ability and capability, he argues that there are several other factors playing in than just those two. Those are upbringing, luck, and our own personal choices. He mentioned intelligence, work ethic, and achievement as well. What Toback really wants to make people notice is the fact that it is called the American dream and not the American promise. People think that the American dream is dead because they think that the American dream is a guaranteed result, which it is not. When people realize this, they think the American dream is a hoax and unattainable, which isn't true. Toback in general means that the American dream is alive, well, and attainable, but that it is unattainable for those who think it is and therefore choose not to pursue it. The main difference between Shiller's and Toback's understandings is that Shiller thinks the American dream has completely disappeared and thus the original values do not exist anymore, whereas Toback thinks people misunderstand the American dream but that it is still intact.
Moreover, Shiller focuses on how American dream is defined today and compares it with how it was defined before in time. While Toback looks at it in a way where he tries to defend the American dream by saying people misunderstand it.
The American dream doesn't have a meaning anymore because it doesn't have one single definition.
It has become more or less a tool to get influence in people both in a political view and a marketing view. Because the original meaning has been washed out in a whirlpool of interpretation and exploitation. Nowadays, it's too loose, and every interpretation is taken as the American dream. The only place the original interpretation is present is at the heart of immigrants. They believe that work is the way to better life, and the best place to do that is in America, country of dreams.